With me is the chief of the IORA, the Indian Ocean Rim Association, Mr. Sanjiv Ranjan. So welcome to WION. It's great to have conversation with you as in the past. And my first question to you is about IORA. What's the status like in terms of the projects, in terms of the cooperation in the Indian Ocean region? Because this is an organization that essentially brings together the countries of the Indian Ocean.
Absolutely correct. Let me first thank WION for giving me the platform to take the message of IORA to your viewers. IORA came into existence 30 years ago, in 1997, in this very place in Mauritius. So it's a great pleasure to be back here in participating in the 9th Indian Ocean Conference. The member states of IORA work on 6 priority areas and 2 cross-cutting issues. These 6 priority areas are maritime safety security, disaster risk management, trade and investment, culture, tourism, fisheries, blue economy, women economic empowerment. The latest addition of our deliberations is climate change. What do we do exactly across these various areas of concern or issues that are discussed by member states? Number one, the idea is to develop capacity, build capability, exchange best practices, exchange technology, knowledge among member states. Let's say, for example, maritime safety and security. We have an incident of drug trafficking on the high seas. How do you take your assets to interdict the ship, to prosecute the people who are indulging in it? Similarly, if there is an issue of search and rescue which is involved, somebody has got lost on the high seas, or for example, there is an oil pollution on the coastal seas, how does the national authorities address those challenges in a manner which is most effective? The second basket of issues that we deal with is development of norms. These are voluntary norms, but are on subjects that are of importance to the member states. To give a very concrete example, last year we adopted a framework for addressing the issue of marine debris. Marine debris is a matter of significant concern. We now know that plastic pollution is now entering our food chain. It will affect adversely the health of our people. So it is important that we address in the Indian Ocean region the issue of marine debris. In particular, because the geography of the Indian Ocean leads to greater possibility of marine debris reaching our shores than perhaps in other regions of the world. Similarly, there are other practical norms that have been developed to address illegal, unreported, unregulated fishing, or on guidelines of humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, memorandum of understanding on search and rescue. So these are the 2 broad parameters that allow us to function across these various areas. 1, setting of norms. Number 2, capacity building, sharing of knowledge.
In terms of this grouping, while people who know about this grouping know, how can this grouping be a grouping of relevance for the common person on many countries who, of course, share the Indian Ocean? So, like, for example, people know about brimstick. SARC is not a good example right now, but talking about IORA, how can it be a geopolitical currency?
Listen, by definition and by the charter, as you know, the organization came into being in 1997 following the comments made by late President Nelson Mandela during his visit to India to consider setting up or established an organization for regional cooperation for sustainable development within the region. So by definition, the charter looks into issues which are cooperative in nature and does not get into divisive and contested issues. So as a result, all our deliberations are on the positive side of the ledger. Now, how does a common man or a common person benefit from IORA? To give you a very concrete example, coastal communities across our region, you must have heard in the deliberations, we have a coastline of 7,500 kilometers. How do the livelihood of our fishermen be protected? Or, for example, tourism takes place in our coastal areas, how do we ensure that coastal erosion does not take place? So we hold workshops, seminars, exchange best practices on how do we ensure that illegal, unreported, unregulated fishing does not take place in our waters, and we strengthen all the mechanisms which ensure that that does not take place. Similarly, for example, what are the best practices to preserve our coastal areas so that our tourism can take place? These are interventions which directly affect people, but the people who are actually learning these skills are the ones who are given the responsibility to manage at the level of the state.
Uh, a plan is underway of a summit level meeting when it comes to IORA, which is a big, ambitious project in many ways. Last summit has happened, but this will be the second summit. Perhaps if you can outline what's the plan like.
Well, just like you, I have just come to know about this. As you know, Secretary East in the Ministry of External Affairs, Mr. Kumaran, just now in his remarks suggested that India is considering hosting a summit of the Indian Ocean Rim Association, which will coincide with the 30th year of its establishment. The last time a summit level meeting was organized by IORA was when it celebrated 20 years of its establishment, which was done under the chairship of Indonesia. As you are aware, India has taken over as the chair of this organization in November last year, and therefore it would be very appropriate for India to highlight the issues that are dealt with by IORA, reinvigorate it and make it more contemporary in the future. As you are aware, as a larger maritime policy of the government of India, a number of initiatives are being taken to reinvigorate our maritime heritage. And perhaps this institutional framework is perhaps the most apt, as it brings together 23 member states together to work together in the areas which are of contemporary relevance to them.
So my last question, here at the Indian Ocean Conference, one thing has dominated, it is the West Asia crisis and its impact on the Indian Ocean. As the chief of this organization, what's your assessment like? And also, how can this organization, perhaps as part of larger cooperation, cooperative abilities, mitigate or reduce the impact of the escalation of food, fuel, the costs on the Indian Ocean countries? I know this organization had a very different role, but what's your view basically?
Well, first of all, let me qualify my statement by saying that, the Indian Ocean Rim Association does not have a political mandate. So therefore, we do not discuss political issues within the organization. Notwithstanding that, it is very clear to all the member states and the organization that any disruption in the normal functioning of the maritime space that we share has economic, social, and other deleterious impact on our population. Our operations on a day-to-day basis are to build on cooperative frameworks to ensure dialogue and diplomacy takes always a prominent space instead of contested narratives being exchanged among them. So I would limit my remarks to these views which are there in the organization.
On that note, thank you so much, sir, for speaking to WION.
Thank you.
With video journalist Joy Siddhansable for WION in Mauritius.